All right, let's dive right in, shall we? AI models. That's the name of the game today. ChatGPT, Google Gemini, all the big players. We're going to unpack them. Strengths, weaknesses, and, who knows, maybe some surprises along the way.
Yeah, and the thing about these models was really fascinating. They're always evolving.
Yeah.
It's like trying to hit, a moving target. But that's what makes this whole thing so interesting.
It is, yeah. It seems like every week, bam, something new. But before we get too far down that rabbit hole, let's do a quick level set. AI versus machine learning.
Yeah.
People throw those terms around, but what's the actual distinction?
Right. They do get used interchangeably a lot, but there's a difference, right? Think of AI as like the big umbrella, the overall concept. Machines, they're trying to simulate, human intelligence, solving complex problems. And then you've got machine learning, which is like a specific approach to get to AI, using algorithms that let systems learn, from data, improve without someone having to program every little thing.
So AI is the big picture. Machine learning is one way to get there.
Got it. Now let's meet our contestants, right? We've got GPT, obviously GPT-4 is making a lot of noise. Then there's Claude, Llama, Google Gemini, Microsoft Copilot, a whole bunch. And each one, like you said, each one has its own thing going on. It's evolving, constantly evolving, which makes comparing them tricky, right?
It does. It's not just, apples to apples. They all specialize. They've got different data sets. Even just getting access to test them independently, that can be tough. So you got to look at it from all sides, not just decide, which one's the best right off the bat.
No, for sure. So on that note, let's start with, I guess, what a lot of folks consider the current champ, right? GPT-4.
Yeah.
Known for the text generation, how it can just pump out these like human quality responses and follow crazy complex instructions. Yeah, it set a high bar, especially for generating text. That sounds like a person actually wrote it, understanding like nuanced prompts, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But don't count out Claude and Llama. They're doing some interesting stuff too. Their strengths might be more specific, maybe data analysis or code generation, who knows, maybe even outperforming GPT in some areas.
So it really is all about, what are you actually looking for in an AI? There's no one-size-fits-all winner. Speaking of which, I want to dig into Google Gemini and Microsoft Copilot specifically. We found this article on FastWeb that compares them head-to-head to ChatGPT, and some of what they found is pretty surprising.
That article, it highlights some key differences in their approach, that's for sure. One thing that really stood out to me is how Gemini is all about, natural conversation, make it feel like you're talking to another person. Smooth, natural.
Yeah, that sounds impressive, but the article also mentioned that this whole sounding human thing, it can sometimes lead to, factual errors. So is that trade-off, is it worth it? Sounds human, but maybe gets things wrong. I don't know.
Yeah, see, that's the trade-off. Gemini, the way it's designed, it prioritizes that flow, the way we use language naturally. But sometimes that can mean, accuracy takes a hit, especially with really complicated or niche topics. Think of it this way. You know someone who's a great storyteller, but they might embellish the facts a little just to make the story better.
I get it. So while that conversational style, it's appealing, you got to be mindful that it might not always be spot on, especially if you're using it for, research or something important. What about Copilot then? The article kind of suggested that it's known for being more reliable, at least in terms of the quality of what it produces. Plus, it works seamlessly with all the Microsoft Office stuff, which is a big deal for a lot of people.
Right. It seems to be better at producing high quality content, probably because of the massive amount of data they use to train it and those super sophisticated algorithms,
Yeah.
And that Microsoft Office integration, if you're already living in that world, it's a natural fit.
I thought it was interesting that both are supposed to be user friendly, but the article mentioned that Gemini's interface feels less cluttered. And there was this one little detail that just caught my eye. It offers 3 different conversation styles. What does that even mean? I gotta know.
Right. It's what, unfortunately, they didn't really dive into what those styles actually are. Maybe it's about how formal or casual it is, different tones, maybe even how creative it gets. Definitely something we should look into.
Agreed. Okay, let's shift gears a little, talk about image generation. That's where ChatGPT and Copilot really seem to be killing it, right? Because of DALL-E.
DALL-E. That's where things get really interesting visually. It can create these complex images, all from simple text prompts, basically a digital artist at your beck and call. The example in the article about using it to design a birthday invitation blew me away.
Yeah, me too. Endless possibilities. Though speaking of possibilities, it sounds like Gemini's image generation is still, catching up. They were saying it's not as sophisticated as DALL-E yet.
True. DLA seems to be ahead, at least in terms of how complex and, high quality the images you can create are. But AI, it moves fast. Don't be surprised if Gemini closes that gap pretty soon.
Yeah, the speed is incredible. Now, before we get totally lost in AI-generated art, something else that's got to be on everyone's mind, especially our listeners, is privacy.
Oh, absolutely. A critical issue. They pointed out a really key difference, between the models. With Gemini, you can actually set it so that your conversations, they're not being read by actual humans, and they don't use it to, train the AI further.
Yeah.
That's a big deal for people who are really privacy conscious.
Yeah, it's huge. And ChatGPT, they have a similar option, but the article mentioned that it's like buried and they still keep your conversations for a month, even if you like deactivate it. That's a pretty big difference.
For sure. And it really highlights how important privacy is becoming in AI development.
Yeah.
As these things get, more and more woven into our lives, having those controls, easy to use controls over our data, it's essential.
Couldn't agree more. Okay, last thing before we wrap this part up, let's talk about the premium versions, the paid subscriptions for each model. Gemini AI Premium, ChatGPT Plus, Copilot Pro. What are the big differences, the things our listeners should be paying attention to?
Well, for Gemini AI Premium, the one that really jumps out is the storage you get. It's like 2 terabytes of Google One storage.
2 terabytes. That's like enough to score basically everything. Oh. What about ChatGPT Plus then? What do you get with that?
With ChatGPT Plus, you get access to the latest, most up-to-date GPT models. So you're always like right on the cutting edge. And importantly, you get to use Dado, which, as we were saying, is super powerful for image creation.
So if you're really serious about, pushing the boundaries of what you can do with text and images, that's the way to go. And what about Copilot Pro then? What sets that one apart?
Copilot Pro, it's all about boosting performance. You get an even more advanced language model, meaning even better results, even higher quality. You also get Daily E for the image creation. And it just works even better with all the other Microsoft stuff. So if you're heavily into Microsoft, especially for work, it's like a productivity powerhouse.
So each one, it's like a different flavor. It all depends on what you need and what you're trying to do.
Yeah, exactly. Finding the right model and the right subscription, it's about what fits your workflow and your goals, Welcome back to the deep dive. Ready for more?
Oh, yeah. That last part really got me thinking. We talked about some seriously cool stuff, but I gotta know. What are like the big trends you're seeing in AI development right now? What's coming next,
Well, one trend that I think is super exciting is multimodal AI. This is where models can work with all sorts of data like text, images, audio, even code all at once. It's not just about like understanding one type of input, but connecting them all, making sense of it all together.
Multimodal AI. That sounds, I don't know, kind of sci-fi. What could that even do? I mean, what's the impact?
The potential is massive, honestly. Think about it. AI that can combine all these different types of data, that could change everything. Education, entertainment, healthcare, research, you name it. Imagine like a doctor using AI that can analyze medical scans and then connect those results to like symptoms, medical history, even the latest research papers, all to give a really thorough diagnosis.
Wow. Okay, so it's not just like AI that can, understand a picture, but it's AI that can actually connect the dots, draw conclusions from like multiple sources.
Exactly. It's about going beyond single input AI, right? To something that's, more holistic, more like how humans think. AI that can see a picture, sure, but also understand what that picture means, like in the grand scheme of things.
So are any of the models we've been talking about already doing this kind of multimodal stuff?
To a certain extent, yeah. GPT-4, for example, it's shown some pretty impressive capabilities, especially with understanding both text and images. Remember that example in one of the articles, the one about analyzing the inside of a refrigerator and then suggesting recipes based on what's in there. That's multimodal AI in action.
Oh, right. I'd almost forgotten about that. That's crazy. It's like AI is actually starting to think more like, we do. Yeah. What about Gemini? Is that going in this direction too?
Absolutely. In fact, Google, they've been super clear that Gemini is meant to be a multimodal model from the ground up. It's designed to handle text, code, audio, video, the whole works. That's why a lot of people think Gemini could be a really major player, especially as this whole multimodal thing becomes, more and more important.
It's almost like we're, moving past the era of AI as a tool and into an era of AI as like a partner, collaborating with us.
Exactly. And that shift, it has huge implications, especially for work, the future of work. I mentioned like working with an AI teammate, not just one that follows your instructions, but that like anticipates your needs, suggests ideas, helps you solve problems in ways you hadn't even thought of.
Wow, it's game changing, but also a little bit, I don't know, intimidating, maybe. What other trends, what else are you keeping an eye on in AI development?
Another big one is responsible AI,
Yeah.
making sure it's ethical, safe. As these models get more powerful and we use them more and more, that becomes even more important,
Yeah.
right? We have to make sure they're actually beneficial to society, to everyone.
Definitely. We talked about some of the risks earlier, like misinformation, potential for bias. How are developers trying to address that, to like prevent those things from happening?
One key approach is transparency. Making sure it's clear how AI models reach their conclusions, what data they're using. This is super important, especially in fields like healthcare and finance, where mistakes can have serious consequences.
So it's not enough to just get the right answer. It's about like showing your work so we can trust the judgment of the AI, right?
Exactly. Trust is essential with AI. And transparency, understanding how it works, that builds trust. Fairness is another crucial aspect. You have to make sure these models are trained on data that's, diverse, representative of the real world. Otherwise, you just perpetuate existing biases. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. Garbage in, garbage out.
Right. And those biases, they can do real harm, especially when these AI systems are used to make decisions that affect tons of people. Fairness, no bias, those are absolutely vital.
So responsible AI, it's not just about the tech itself. It's about like the impact on society, making sure it's used for good.
Absolutely. It's a complex challenge. It's not something any one person or group can solve. We need researchers, developers, policymakers, everyone working together to make sure AI is developed and used in a way that benefits everyone.
This whole conversation has been, I don't know, eye-opening. AI has so much potential, it could change the world for better or worse. It's up to us to make sure it's for the better.
Couldn't agree more. As we keep exploring, we need to remember both the potential and the risks. Responsible AI development, that's the key to making sure AI creates a better future.
Well said. This has given me a lot to think about. Multimodal AI, responsible development, the future of work. Can't wait to see what else we uncover in the last part of our deep dive. Okay, so we've talked about a lot, comparing models, what's trending, the whole responsible AI thing. But like, the big question, the one everyone wants to know, what's next for AI? Where is this all going?
Yeah, that's the one, isn't it? Predicting the future is always tricky, especially with technology. But I think, one thing's for sure. AI is going to keep changing, keep evolving at an incredible pace. What we've seen so far is just the beginning.
It really is mind-blowing how much has happened, even just in the past few years. So, like, what areas, what are you most excited about? Where do you see the biggest potential?
One area that really fascinates me is AI and creativity. How those two intersect. For a long time, we thought, AI, that's for automation, for the boring stuff, and humans, we do the creative things. But now, we've got AI writing music, poems, even creating art that's like really good. It really makes you think, what does it even mean to be creative when AI can do all that?
It's true. I've seen those AI-generated pictures and videos, and it's like, whoa, almost creepy how good they are. Part of me is impressed, but part of me is, I don't know, kind of freaked out, like, what's our role?
It definitely challenges our assumptions, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But I think instead of seeing AI as a threat, we can look at it as like a new tool for collaboration. Imagine AI working with artists, musicians, writers, not to replace them, but to help them be even more creative, to do things they couldn't do before.
I like that. Like AI as a partner, like almost like whispering ideas.
Exactly. And I think that kind of human AI collaboration, that's where things are going. Another area where I see a lot of potential is personalized AI. Imagine AI that's like tailored just for you, your needs, your preferences, like a digital assistant that knows you better than you know yourself.
Okay, personalized AI. That sounds intriguing. Give me an example. Help me wrap my head around it.
Sure. Think about healthcare. Imagine an AI that tracks your health, like everything, not just your vitals, but your genes, your lifestyle, and gives you personalized advice, what to eat, how to exercise, even early warnings for potential health problems. Or in education, imagine a tutor that adapts to how you learn best, helps you master things at your own pace.
Wow. Okay, now I'm starting to see it. Personalized healthcare, education. It could be anything, really.
Exactly. The possibilities are endless. But of course, the more personalized it gets, the more we have to think about the ethics, right? Make sure people are still in control of their data, their choices. It's a delicate balance, that personalization, without sacrificing privacy.
That's a really important point. As AI gets smarter, as it's a bigger part of our lives, we need those ethical guidelines, those safeguards to make sure it's used responsibly.
Absolutely. Responsible AI development, that's got to be the priority. We have to make sure AI is a force for good, and that's everyone's responsibility. Developers, researchers, policymakers, even just everyday people, we all have a role to play.
This whole conversation, I mean, it's been amazing. AI, it has the power to change everything, but it's up to us to make sure it's for the better.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Mhm.
AI is a powerful tool, and, with great power comes great responsibility, right?
Yeah.
It's up to all of us to make sure we use it wisely for the good of everyone.
Well said. Well, this has been quite the deep dive. We've compared models, looked at the trends, thought about the ethics, even tried to predict the future.
It's been a pleasure, truly. The world of AI, it never stands still, so keep learning, keep exploring, and, join us again for more deep dives wherever you get your podcasts.
Until then, keep those AI wheels turning.